How's everybody doing? Welcome back to another episode of The Banker Next Door. I am your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. Today, we're going to be continuing the crypto series with part 17, and we're going to be looking at a couple of the key developments. We have a crypto reserve being created by President Trump, and then we also had the first crypto summit at the White House last week. So some very interesting developments. We're going to look at a number of articles today from CNBC, the Epoch Times, the Wall Street Journal, and we're going to examine this Bitcoin reserve. What does it mean? We're going to look at what are some of the things that happened at this White House summit, but we're also going to take a look at a couple of the articles pointing out some of the new key players in this whole crypto universe, if you will, that are, kind of jostling for space at the moment. So let's jump into a couple things here. We had the first, this was from CNBC's reporting. So this is Trump's first White House crypto summit has VIPs pushing for favorable laws. So basically last Friday, we had this first crypto summit at the White House. President Donald Trump hosted the first ever White House crypto summit. Late Thursday, this is last Thursday, the president signed an executive order creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital asset stockpile. So we'll get to that in a minute. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev, and other industry leaders will meet with the president to discuss next steps on Friday. They did. Basically this says that now that President Trump has announced plans for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, crypto industry leaders can focus on what else they want to hear from the new administration. Just over 6 weeks into his second White House term, Trump is hosting his first crypto summit, a nod to an industry that played a major role in his election victory in November. No executive was more central to that effort than Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. Once a Silicon Valley entrepreneur focused on onboarding the world to digital assets, Armstrong has spent the last year transforming himself into crypto's ambassador in Washington, D.C., funneling millions into elections, building alliances, and ensuring the digital currencies market has a seat at the table. I would just note that there was another guy named Sam Bankman-Fried who was basically trying to do the same thing. So just pointing that out. My goal in attending this is really just, first of all, to thank President Trump for helping make the United States the crypto capital of the world. Armstrong told CNBC ahead of the meeting. I think he's lived up to that promise so far, and we've seen a lot of work getting done here in a positive way. Joining Armstrong at Friday's summit, which is being led by White House AI and crypto czar David Sachs, will be strategy chairman That's not. I think it's MicroStrategy. It should be MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy chairman Michael Saylor. That's a whole nother story. I'm waiting to see if that thing blows up. But that's going to be a whole nother great story. That's going to be giving me episodes for months. I can't wait to see what happens with there. But I digress. Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev and Chairlink's Sergey Nazarov, among others, we're planning to discuss digital asset regulation as well as the mechanics of the strategic Bitcoin reserve, which Trump announced late Thursday by way of executive order. Armstrong, whose company helped the crypto sector raise and direct $250 million into the 2024 election cycle, outpaced Wall Street banks and the oil industry, has been instrumental in shaping the new administration's approach to digital assets. Crypto's push to unseat opposition lawmakers and install pro-crypto candidates paid off handsomely, flipping key seats and cementing the sector as a major political force in Washington, D.C. Several $1 million were funneled directly to Trump's campaign and inaugural fund, a sign of just how much was riding on this victory. At Friday's summit, Armstrong says his priority will be pushing forward new laws. From our point of view, the next step in the United States that's the most urgent is getting legislation passed, he said. He specifically points to stablecoin regulation and broader market structure reforms. Momentum for regulatory clarity is already shifting in crypto's favor. The Senate this week voted with strong bipartisan support to overturn 2 Biden-era regulations that the industry opposed. Senator Ted Cruz called the wins a gateway for more competitive legislation. So crypto's wish list. So for Sergey Nazarov, co-founder of Chainlink, a key issue is how the U.S. can use blockchain technology to maintain its dominance in global finance. Really what matters for financial systems is assets, said Nazarov, whose company provides a blockchain-based platform for digital assets. Does the U.S. generate the largest collection of the best best base assets that are then rewrapped, and repackaged by others. That's how I define global leadership of financial system in this new model. Nazarov said the U.S. must ensure that key financial markets, treasuries, investment funds, and real estate are tokenized. He sees that as the defining financial shift of the next 50 years, similar to the move from paper-based markets to internet-based financial products. Robinhood's Tenev has emerged as one of the most vocal advocates for tokenization, arguing that blockchain technology can democratize private markets and break down barriers to investment in the world's most valuable companies. In a Washington Post op-ed, he pointed out that companies like OpenAI, SpaceX, and Stripe are worth hundreds of billions of dollars combined, but remain inaccessible to everyday investors, with profits concentrated among a small group of insiders. Crypto technology can unlock new ways to trade and invest in all assets from digital to real world, he told CNBC ahead of the event. Tokenization will transform investing, but we need regulatory clarity to make it happen. Under current SEC rules, only accredited investors, people with over 1 million in net worth or 200,000 in annual income, can participate in private markets. Tenev says that reforming these outdated rules and creating a security token registration framework would level the playing field for retail investors, giving them access to high growth opportunities that have long been reserved for venture capitalists. Prior to Thursday's executive order, the big debate in the industry was what kind of strategic reserve Trump would propose. We'll get back to that in a second. Okay, and I think that's the Bitcoin audit. For David Bailey, CEO of BTC Inc., and one of the key figures credited with influencing Trump's embrace of Bitcoin, the priority is understanding the size of the country's Bitcoin ownership. One is to figure out how much Bitcoin Americans hold and what we can do as an industry to help the government secure it, he said. The Treasury Department must now conduct a full audit of the government's holdings. Estimated at 200,000 Bitcoin, Sachs confirmed that the government will not sell any Bitcoin from the reserve, positioning it as a permanent store of value. Okay, so we'll come back to that here in just a second. Just want to make sure that we're not missing anything. So, okay, so there's just like kind of comments from other people. So you get the kind of gist here. So they're basically talking about a lot of legislative, regulatory priorities around trying to get better, regulation around the crypto industry. I like that. This idea that, everything needs to be tokenized. You have to remember that, these guys are looking to make a lot of money out of this. And, their interests are not necessarily in our best interest, meaning the American public. So just like I said, I think this was a good step in the right direction, but, I'm not fully ready to dive headfirst into this whole thing, but we'll see. Okay, so now we get the Trump signs order creating strategic Bitcoin reserve digital asset stockpile. So the president says the reserve would include Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, and Ripple. So President Donald Trump signed an executive order on March 6th, creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve and U.S. digital asset stockpile. White House crypto czar David Sachs explained in a post on X that the creation of this reserve was yet another one of Trump's campaign promises, would not cost American taxpayers a dime, utilizing Bitcoin already owned by the federal government, and it would serve as a digital Fort Knox. Premature sales of Bitcoin have already cost U.S. taxpayers over $17 billion in lost value, he said. Now the federal government will have a strategy to maximize the value of its holdings. So the U.S. government is currently holding probably about $5 billion in Bitcoin as of the moment right now. Trump announced that the 5 digital assets he expects to include in the reserve were Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, and Ripple in a post on Truth Social on March 2nd. A U.S. crypto reserve will elevate this critical industry after years of corrupt attacks by the Biden administration, which is why my executive order on digital assets directed the presidential working group to move forward on a crypto strategic reserve that includes, again, these different cryptocurrencies. I will make sure the U.S. is the crypto capital of the world, he says. We are making America great again. The president signed the executive order the night before he is set to host the White House Crypto Summit, during which he's expected to share his plans to build the reserve. As to what the strategy would look like, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick signaled in a recent interview that a Bitcoin-only strategic reserve would be established and that the other tokens would be treated differently. The president definitely thinks that there's a Bitcoin strategic reserve, Lutnick said. Now there will be the question of how do we handle the other cryptocurrencies? And I think the model is going to be announced on March 7th when we do that. So Bitcoin is one thing, and then the other currencies, the other crypto tokens, I think will be treated differently, positively, but differently. Some disagree with diversifying a crypto reserve beyond Bitcoin. Bitcoin critic and gold advocate Peter Schiff, chief economist and global strategist at Euro Pacific Asset Management, said he thinks it would only make sense to have a Bitcoin reserve. I get the rationale for a Bitcoin reserve, Schiff said on X. I don't agree with it, but I get it. We have a gold reserve. Bitcoin is digital gold, which is better than analog gold. So let's create a Bitcoin reserve too. But what's the rationale for an XRP reserve? The news of Trump's crypto plans spiked the market values of the ones mentioned, with the total crypto market increasing by about 300 billion, according to Coin Market Cap data. So yes, however, I would say I think there was a little bit of disappointment after the White House summit, because basically the word was that, okay, we're just going to create a reserve with the Bitcoin and stuff that we currently already have. And they were not looking to make further investments at this time or spend more, taxpayer money buying up all this Bitcoin. And I think that is definitely not what the crypto market was expecting. I think they were expecting the announcement to be more like, okay, the U.S. will basically commit to buying X amount of Bitcoin, for the foreseeable future, thus helping to drive up the price of Bitcoin. So I think there was definitely a little bit of disappointment there, coming outside of this first crypto summit. So, but and they also said about this reserve here that basically this reserve will be made up of, I guess if there are lawsuits or other things that come in the future where the government basically takes possession of Bitcoin that was used through some kind of fraudulent venture, maybe if it's some kind of RICO case or some theft of something that happened or whatever. So if the government takes possession of that cryptocurrency, or Bitcoin, they will add it to this strategic reserve. So that was one of the elements or things that they basically talked about for how they may add, to this reserve or stockpile, if you will. So, okay. So just a couple other things I just wanted to mention here, just some of the people that are kind of involved in this whole battle here. So this was an article here called "The Titans Battling for Control of the Crypto Future." So Trump's call to bring crypto into the mainstream has raised the stakes in a kill or be killed battle between iconoclastic Italian billionaire and his almost perfect American foil. So Giancarlo Devasani, if I'm saying that correctly, this is the gentleman who is the main owner of Tether. So they talk a little bit about Tether here. And then going in here now, and then the other gentleman is well, they talk about Howard Lutnick. And then, okay, so then Jeremy Allaire is the founder of Circle, basically a rival cryptocurrency company. So, and so these two guys are kind of going at it here. They're in the mix, really getting involved with things. So again, just interesting to note. I just didn't want to go through this whole article. I just wanted to point out who these players were and these people involved. And then the other one is, this other article was basically the polarizing crypto executive who wooed his way into Trump's orbit. And that is Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse stands to benefit from the inclusion of the XRP token in a U.S. digital asset stockpile. Well, like we just said, yes and no. Yes, because it's included, but no, because at least right now, the plan is not to invest a ton of new government taxpayer dollars into XRP, thus again driving up the price of XRP. So that's not really what they're looking to do. But this gentleman, just a few, as I say, just real quick, it just says many executives have made pilgrimage to Washington and Florida to woo President Trump. Few have been as successful as Brad Garlinghouse. Just a few years ago, the chief executive of cryptocurrency firm Ripple was fighting a lawsuit from the Securities and Exchange Commission that threatened to crush its business. Now, as the White House prepares to host its first ever crypto summit, Garlinghouse is emerging as one of the biggest winners from Trump's plan to consolidate the U.S. government's crypto holdings. He has also become one of the most divisive figures in the tribal cryptocurrency industry. So again, it's just interesting to point out. I want to point out some of these players because I'm sure that we will be talking about them in the months and weeks to come as I continue following this. Like I said, is following all things crypto in this crypto series. But basically, I'll wrap up by saying if you haven't had a chance to check out any of the other episodes in the crypto series, please do so. I cover basically anything and everything in the crypto sphere. Like we said, today we covered this White House summit and the creation of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and some of the players involved here. But like I said, and a lot more to come in the weeks and months ahead, to be sure. But I'll wrap up by saying if you like this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, as that always helps the channel. Remember, we are on YouTube, Rumble, and all major podcast platforms. Please be sure to leave your comments down below. I would love to hear your comments on what you think of this Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, or if you think this White House summit was a good thing, a dud, just get some comments on it. But definitely leave those below. And as always, please make sure to check out some of the other content on the channel, certainly some of the other episodes in the crypto series. But I hope everyone has an awesome day out there, and I'll see everybody again real soon. Thanks a lot.